How's it going? This is Kevin Cleary with The View from the Pew. This video comes from some reading that I've been doing recently. I just finished the Lord of the Rings series, and I actually started all the way back with The Hobbit, and that got me to go and read the rest of the series. And as I was reading, one of the things that stood out was the special circumstances that existed in the Shire, where they were receiving special benefits that they didn't really know about or maybe understand, and just kind of went on living life merrily. And it got me thinking that we, as we live in this world, are in a similar situation. See, God has created a glorious place for us to be. It's a beautiful day out right now. The sun is shining. The breeze is blowing softly, and I'm sure if I went down by the lake right now, it would just be a wonderful place, and I may do that later and take some pictures for some pamphlets I'm working on. But I get to enjoy all of these wonderful things that God created, and I'm thankful for that. And I recognize God regularly for all the good that He has done. Now, here's the thing. Not everyone does that. In fact, a large majority of the world's population live without recognizing that God created this world and everything in it. But guess what? They still get to enjoy it. And so they make a choice that's not fully informed. Here's what I mean by that. If I, let's suppose, decide that I'm not watching a lot of TV and I think I may cancel cable, I can look at what I'm getting from my cable company and make some choices and decide, I'm going to opt out of that. When I make that choice, the cable feed stops coming into the house, and I no longer get to watch all those shows that I was watching before. There's an immediate consequence. There's an immediate response to my choice. Now, on the other hand, if I decide I'm not going to serve God or worship Him or think about Him anymore, but I'm just going to kind of go along, I don't all of a sudden stop receiving all the blessings that God gives me. I still get to see the sunset the next evening. I still get to see it rise the next morning, to correct that. Fruits still taste just as good as they did. A steak is still just as delicious as it was the day before, even though I've decided not to acknowledge the ultimate source of that steak and have no relationship with that source. However, what the Bible says is that our choice will ultimately bear fruit. We'll ultimately have to deal with the consequences of that choice, so that there will come a time that if we choose to move away from God, to not have anything to do with Him, we'll find that we are going to get what we want. All of a sudden, everything that God gives, all the good and all the blessings and all the joy and all the comfort. In fact, the Bible says every good thing comes from God. And you think about what that means. Peace and comfort, security, friendship, all of the things that we get to enjoy in this life will be gone at some point if we don't choose to acknowledge the source of all those things, if we choose to remove ourselves from that. And actually, if you read what the Bible says about hell, just the removal of every good and perfect thing that God provides pretty much wraps it up. Imagine no comfort, no security, no safety, no justice. All of these things that God provides for us. And if you found yourself in that situation, you probably think, boy, this is about like hell. Well, what I want to encourage everyone who sees this to do is to recognize that you have freedom of choice. You can choose not to acknowledge the God that created this world and everything in it. You're more than welcome to do that. God's not going to force you. However, you're making that choice without having to pay for the consequences now. But there will be a time when you do have to recognize, or when you do have to accept the consequences of that choice, to ignore and refuse to admit that this world comes from anything or anyone. Now, If you're non-Christian, I would encourage you to consider some of the evidence out there. I'm not asking you to make just a blind leap of faith. I think that's pretty foolish. But send me a personal message, talk to your friends, read a good book about it. There's tons of them out there. But inform yourself of why many people realize there is a God in this world, and they acknowledge his existence and presence and seek to have a relationship with him. And on the other hand, if you're a Christian and you're watching this, I want you to understand that your friends and neighbors, your family members, will find themselves removed from all the blessings that God provides at some point if they haven't chosen in this life to build a relationship with him. And that's the view from a few.